Welcome to Personal Finance Deep Dives, where we help you make your money work for you. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into something really foundational for your financial future, the 401k plan. Whether you're just beginning your career or, you've been contributing for years, we're going to pull back the curtain on how it really works, and maybe more importantly, how to make it work harder for you.
That's exactly right. The 401k, it's a cornerstone of retirement planning for so many people. And understanding its deeper nuances that can dramatically impact your long-term wealth. Our mission today is really to distill the core mechanics, maybe reveal some common pitfalls people stumble into, and even glimpse into its evolving future.
Okay, let's unpack this then. A lot of us, I think, we just see the 401k as that automatic deduction from our paycheck. But at its heart, it's actually an employer-sponsored defined contribution plan. Can you explain what defined contribution really means for us? Like, what's the key difference there?
Absolutely. And that defined contribution part, it's crucial. It basically means that you, the employee, contribute a specific amount, often directly from your paycheck. And typically before taxes, though we'll get into that. The key thing is the value of your retirement account depends entirely on how those contributions and their investments grow over time.
Ah, okay. So it's different from, like, old school pensions.
Exactly. Those were usually defined benefit plans. The employer promised a specific payout later, like a certain amount per month in retirement. They bore the investment risk. With a 401k, that risk, and honestly the potential reward too, it's largely in your hands. And of course, a fantastic feature is that your employer might even match what you
The
contribute,
employer match, yeah.
which essentially turns your savings effort into a payroll liability for them, the amount they owe to the plan administrator. It's a commitment.
Okay, so if the growth and the risk is on us, those tax advantages must be a really big part of the appeal. Tell us about the two main flavors, traditional and Roth.
Right, that's where your first big strategic decision comes in. With a traditional 401k, your contributions are indeed pre-tax. That immediately lowers your current taxable income, which feels great, on payday.
Right. Less tax now.
Less tax now, but there's always a but, right? The trade-off is that when you withdraw that money in retirement, it's added back to your taxable income then.
Okay, so you pay taxes later. And the Roth option.
The Roth 401k, well, it works the other way around. You contribute money that you've already paid taxes on, so it's after-tax contribution.
Oh,
The major benefit here is that when you take qualified distributions in retirement, that means meeting certain conditions like age, both your contributions and all the earnings, are entirely tax-free.
wow. Completely tax-free growth and withdrawals.
Exactly. And what's particularly fascinating and maybe a bit surprising about the Roth 401k is that unlike a Roth IRA, there's no upper income limit capping your eligibility.
Yeah.
So even high earners can contribute, which can be a real game changer if you anticipate being in a higher tax bracket in retirement.
That's a really good point.
Mhm.
Now, that concept of free money from an employer match, it sounds almost too good to be true. What should we understand about that? Why is it so critical not to miss out?
It genuinely is free money for your retirement. It's not a trick. Most employers, well, many employers, offer to match a percentage of your contributions up to a certain limit. Like a common one is they might match 50% of what you contribute, but only up to the first 6% of your salary you put in.
So you have to contribute at least that 6% to get the full match.
Precisely. And we find that not contributing enough to get that full employer match. Honestly, it's one of the biggest missed opportunities out there. It's like leaving a chunk of your compensation just sitting on the table, uncollected. It's something we always advise workers to prioritize. Get that match.
Absolutely. Makes sense. And these contribution limits, I know they tend to creep up almost every year. What are the essential numbers we need to keep in mind for, say, 2025?
Right, they do adjust. For 2025, you can put away a pretty substantial amount, $23,500 of your own money into your 401k. That's the employee deferral limit.
23.5.
Okay. And if you're age 50 or older, the IRS lets you make additional catch-up contributions to help you save more as retirement gets closer. For 2025, that standard catch-up amount is staying at $7,500.
Okay, so an extra 7,500 if you're 50 plus.
Correct. But here's an important update thanks to the Secure 2.0 Act. If you're specifically aged 60, 61, 62, or 63 during the year,
Okay.
there's a higher catch-up limit available. It's $11,250 for 2025. So even more room to save in those key pre-retirement years.
Wow, okay, that's a significant bump for that age group.
It really is. And remember, when you combine your contributions, your employer's match, and any other employer contributions, the total limit for 2025 can go way up, potentially $70,000, plus any of those catch-up amounts if they apply. The key message here is, the system is designed to allow significant savings.
That really underscores the power here. Okay, I think that brings us perfectly to takeaway number one. A 401k provides powerful tax advantages and employer match opportunities with specific contribution limits that offer flexibility for different ages.
Nicely put.
So digging into the history a bit, you mentioned the 401k wasn't originally designed to be the primary retirement savings system for everyone. It started, more like an executive perk. How did it evolve into this widespread vehicle it is today, and what does that shift mean for us?
Yeah, that's a great historical point, and it informs a lot about how the system works now. Its widespread adoption, I think, really stems from its ability to shift uncertainty, specifically investment risk, from employers to employees.
Ah, okay.
Think back to those old defined benefit pension plans we mentioned. Employers promised a specific amount. That meant they bore the risk if employees lived longer than expected, or if the market tanked or interest rates fell, they still had to pay out.
Right, they were on the hook.
Exactly. With a 401k, the risk that your investments don't perform well enough or you live a very long time is largely transferred directly to you, the employee. For employers, it makes their costs much more predictable.
Okay, so employers benefit by offloading risk. That makes sense from their perspective. But what are the direct upsides for us as employees? I mean, being in this new driver's seat, what do we gain?
Well, the big game is portability. That's huge.
Yeah.
You're no longer necessarily tied to one company for decades just to secure a retirement income. Your 401k can usually move with you.
Yeah, that's a big change.
And you have personal choice. You decide, within the plan's options, how much to save, how to invest it. You're truly more in control, which gives you theoretically a more discretion over your retirement lifestyle. That's a significant improvement for many people.
But there's always a but, right? Being in the driver's seat also implies more responsibility.
What's the biggest challenge, or maybe the biggest problem that has emerged from this system for the average American saver?
This raises a really important question, and it's maybe a bit counterintuitive. While we've gained control, perhaps the biggest problem is that the average person isn't always, fully prepared or equipped to manage all these complex financial decisions effectively.
Like what kind of decisions? Like, how much should I really be saving? How do I choose the right investments? How do I manage market ups and downs? This complexity can lead to what some researchers call the saving paradox.
A saving paradox. What's that?
It's this phenomenon where people actually become uncomfortable spending their savings in retirement, even when they've accumulated a pretty significant nest egg. They're afraid of running out of money. In fact, one survey found something staggering, like 84% of workers didn't feel comfortable actually spending down their savings.
Wow, 84%? That's huge. So you save your whole life and then you're too scared to use it.
Exactly. Imagine saving diligently for 30, 40 years just to be too anxious to enjoy the fruits of that labor. It points to a real gap in the system.
That really is a significant issue. So what have we done, or what is being done, maybe through legislation or plan design, to address these challenges and simplify things?
Well, thankfully, we have seen some significant improvements over the last, say, decade or two. Congress has stepped in with acts like the Pension Protection Act of 2006, and more recently, the Secure Act and Secure 2.0.
Okay.
These have really pushed for greater simplicity and automation in plan design. For instance, the introduction and widespread adoption of target date funds. That's been huge.
Right. I hear about those a lot.
They dramatically simplify investment choices because they automatically adjust your mix of stocks and bonds, getting more conservative as you approach your target retirement date. Takes a lot of the guesswork out for the average person.
That definitely helps. What else?
There's also been a big push for automatic enrollment. This means new employees are automatically put into the 401k plan unless they actively choose to opt out.
Ah, using inertia to our advantage.
Exactly. It's a subtle nudge, but it makes a massive difference in participation rates. And alongside that, auto-escalation. This feature gradually increases your contribution rate each year, say by 1%, unless you stop it. Helps you save more over time without really feeling the pinch or having to actively remember to do it.
So these automatic features are really designed to overcome that inertia and complexity barrier.
Precisely. They are major steps towards helping more people achieve a reasonably sufficient retirement without needing to become an investment expert themselves.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It feels like that's our takeaway number 2 right there. The 401k offers employees portability and investment choice, but it shifts responsibility from employers. Recent innovations like auto-enrollment and target date funds are helping to simplify the process and encourage greater savings.
Well summarized.
All right, we've talked about the benefits, the evolution, the attempts to simplify, but here's where we can maybe save you some real headaches and potentially some money. What are the biggest, most common mistakes people make with their 401ks? And maybe more importantly, what's the simplest way for us to avoid them?
Oh, there are definitely some common pitfalls. But the good news is many are actually quite easy to avoid with just a little bit of attention. One of the biggest, and maybe the most insidious because it's passive, is simply not making saving a consistent habit.
Meaning, not contributing enough or stopping.
Both. Not contributing enough to get the full match, like you talked about, or not increasing your contributions as your salary grows over your career. It's just too easy to kind of set it and forget it in the wrong way. You set it up once and never revisit it, missing out on years of potential compounding growth because you're still contributing based on your starting salary.
Right, lifestyle creep happens, but maybe 401k creep doesn't follow automatically.
Exactly. And related to that set it and forget it problem is how the money is actually invested.
Ah, yes, the investment choices. I know a lot of people just maybe stick with whatever the default option was when they signed up. Or worse, they ignore it completely.
That's another major potential mistake. Not knowing what you're invested in is one thing, but also not knowing the fees you're being charged.
Fees, right. Those can eat away at returns.
Significantly over decades. Or not even knowing the performance of your funds relative to benchmarks. Your plan is actually legally required to send you an annual fee disclosure statement.
The thing that looks really dense and boring?
That's probably the one. But we highly, highly recommend you actually open it and pay attention to it. Look at the expense ratios of your funds. If your plan's fees seem high, especially compared to options outside the plan, maybe consider this. Contribute just enough to get your full employer match.
Okay, maximize the free money first.
Right. And then maybe save additional funds in an individual retirement account, an IRA. IRAs often offer a much wider range of investment choices, potentially with lower fees.
That's a smart strategy. Okay, speaking of employer matches again, I've heard the term vesting.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is that and why does it matter so much, particularly if you're someone who might change jobs every few years?
Vesting is absolutely critical to understand. It refers to the percentage of your employer's contributions, the match, or any profit sharing that you actually own outright.
Own, so I might not own it right away.
Correct. Any money you contribute from your own paycheck is always 100% vested immediately. That's your money, period.
Okay.
But your employer's matching contributions often come with a vesting schedule. This schedule determines when you gain full ownership. It could be immediate vesting, where you own it right away. That's the best kind.
Nice.
Or it could be a graded schedule. Maybe you own 20% after year 1, 40% after year 2, and so on, until you're fully vested after 5 years, for example. Or sometimes it's cliff vesting.
Cliff vesting. Sounds dramatic.
It kind of is. With cliff vesting, you might gain 0% ownership for, say, the first 3 years, and then boom, you become 100% vested all at once on your 3rd anniversary. But if you leave before that cliff,
You get nothing from the employer contribution.
exactly, you forfeit it all. So changing jobs before you're fully vested according to your planned schedule means you could lose out on a potentially significant portion of those employer contributions and all the growth they've experienced. That would really be a shame. Always know your vesting schedule.
Definitely a heads up needed there. Okay, another potential pitfall. Taking money out early. Is that ever a good idea, or are we mostly talking about a very costly mistake?
Look, I'd say almost never. Unless there is a true dire emergency like facing eviction or major medical bills, and you have genuinely exhausted every single other possible option. Savings, borrowing from family, everything.
So really a last resort.
Absolutely. Because cashing out your 401k before age 59.5 typically incurs a hefty 10% IRS penalty right off the top.
Ouch.
And that's on top of ordinary income tax you'll owe on the withdrawal. It can be a massive financial hit. Even things like hardship withdrawals or taking a loan from your 401k, while sometimes available and maybe better than an outright cash out, they still mean that money is not invested in growing for your future. You miss out on critical potential investment gains, which is the whole point of these long-term accounts. Avoid tapping it if you possibly can.
Okay, solid advice. Now, this next one feels a bit counterintuitive, but you hear it sometimes. Checking your balance too often might actually be a mistake. I admit I've been guilty of that, especially when the market gets choppy. It's usually not good for my peace of mind. Why is that impulse so common, and how do we resist it?
It's a very common impulse. We're wired to want to check on things, especially our money, but Checking your 401k balance daily or even weekly can create unnecessary anxiety. Markets go up and down constantly in the short term.
Right.
And more dangerously, that anxiety can lead to emotional decisions, like panic selling when the market dips or stopping contributions altogether because you feel discouraged. Those are often the worst things you can do for your long-term returns.
So reacting to the noise instead of focusing on the long game.
Exactly. The true power, the brilliance of a 401k lies in long-term tax-advantaged compounding. It's far, far better to adopt a long-term perspective, create a solid investment plan you believe in, and then, stay the course. Resist the urge to react to every market fluctuation. Check maybe quarterly or annually, but not daily.
But stay the course.
Yeah.
Good mantra.
Mhm.
Okay, one more common trap we often see people fall into: investing too much, maybe way too much, in their own company's stock within the 401k.
Yes, this is a big one. While it might feel like a show of loyalty, or maybe you think your company is the next big thing,
All right, you work there, you believe in it.
your financial livelihood is already heavily tied to your employer through your paycheck, your benefits, maybe even stock options outside the 401k. Overinvesting in company stock within your 401k means you are simply not diversified enough. You're putting far, far too many eggs in one basket.
So if the company hits hard times,
You could potentially lose your job and see a huge chunk of your retirement savings evaporate simultaneously. That's a devastating double whammy. Financial regulators and most financial advisors generally recommend keeping company stock exposure within your 401k to no more than, say, 10% to 20% maximum. Avoid that excessive concentration risk.
diversification is key, even if you love your company.
Especially then, maybe. Remember, the goal is long-term retirement security, not short-term speculation on your employer's stock price inside your retirement account.
Got it. Okay, that's a great list of things to watch out for. I think that leads us smoothly into takeaway number 3. Avoid common 401k mistakes by making consistent contributions, understanding your fees and investments, securing your employer match through vesting, and resisting early withdrawals or over-concentration in company stock.
Perfect. Avoiding those alone puts you way ahead of the game.
All right, let's shift gears now maybe to some of the more advanced aspects and even look a bit towards the future. You mentioned 401k loans briefly. Can you actually take a loan from your own 401k? How does that work?
Yes, many, though not all, 401k plans do allow participants to take loans. It's a feature some people don't even realize they might have access to. What's unique and kind of interesting here is that the interest you pay on the loan, it doesn't go to a bank or some outside lender.
Where does it go?
It goes right back into your own 401k account. So you're essentially paying interest to yourself, which effectively becomes additional contributions over and above the normal limits.
Huh, that's interesting. Paying interest to yourself.
Yeah. And the principal amount you borrow isn't considered taxable income as long as the loan is paid back properly according to the rules, usually within 5 years, maybe longer if it's for a primary home purchase.
Okay, but what's the catch? There's usually a catch.
The big catch, the big risk, is if you default on the loan. Maybe you leave your job and can't pay it back on the accelerated schedule that often triggers. If you default, that outstanding loan balance is treated as a taxable distribution.
So you owe income tax on it.
Right. And if you're under 59 and a half, you'll likely owe that 10% early withdrawal penalty too. So defaulting is costly. Use loans very cautiously, if at all.
Got it. Use with caution.
Yeah.
Now, what about required minimum distributions, or RMDs? This is something people have to start thinking about once they actually hit retirement age,
Yeah.
right? It's about the spending phase.
Exactly. RMDs are a critical aspect of retirement planning that, honestly, too many people overlook until the deadline is looming. Generally speaking, account owners must begin taking money out of their traditional 401ks and other tax-deferred accounts like traditional IRAs by April 1st of the calendar year after the year they turn age 73.
Age 73, okay.
Though, heads up, due to recent legislation, that age is scheduled to increase to 75 for those who turn 73 after December 31st, 2032. So it's moving target a bit. Or it's April 1st after the year you retire if that's later than age 7375.
So you have to start taking money out whether you need it or not. What happens if you don't?
The penalty for failing to take your required RMD or not taking out enough used to be a brutal 50%. Thankfully, Secure 2.0 reduced it, but it's still a hefty 25% penalty on the amount that should have been distributed but wasn't.
25% penalty. Okay, definitely something to pay attention to.
Absolutely. And one more key point here. Even Roth 401ks are currently subject to RMDs while the original owner is alive. This is a major difference from Roth IRAs, which do not have RMDs for the original owner. It's a quirky distinction to be aware of if you're comparing the two.
Good to know. Roth 401ks have RMDs, Roth IRAs don't. Okay. Now, it sounds like a lot of responsibility falls on the individual, not just to save and invest, but then to manage this potentially big nest egg in retirement and make it last. What's being discussed or developed to help people spend their money more effectively once they stop working? Especially given that saving paradox you mentioned earlier, where people are afraid to spend.
This gets to, I think, one of the biggest unsolved challenges in the defined contribution world. You're right, people often don't do a great job of spending down their savings efficiently. They hoard it, fearing they'll run out. This is where options designed to provide income in retirement come into play. Things like annuities.
Annuities, right. They get mixed reviews sometimes.
They do, but at their core, certain types of annuities can guarantee income for life, directly addressing that fear, that longevity risk of outliving your savings. We're also seeing newer, maybe more targeted concepts emerge, like qualified longevity annuity contracts or QLACs.
QLACs. Tell me more.
Imagine using a portion of your 401k, up to a certain limit, to buy a special type of annuity now that doesn't actually start paying out until you're much older, say age 80 or 85. It specifically protects against the financial risk of living a very, very long time. It's like deep longevity insurance.
Interesting. So it secures your later years.
Exactly. And there's even renewed discussion around much older concepts like tontines.
Tontines. Sounds like something out of an old mystery novel.
Huh, a little bit. But mathematically, they're fascinating. It's a form of true risk pooling. A group pools their money, and the investment income is distributed among the surviving members. As members pass away, their shares are redistributed among the remaining survivors.
So the payouts increase for those who live longer.
Potentially significantly higher payouts for the longest living participants. It's a very efficient way to pool longevity risk, though they have historical baggage and regulatory hurdles. Still, it's part of the conversation about creating reliable retirement income streams.
Okay, so annuities, QLACs, maybe even tontines. These are options for generating income. Why is there a push to maybe keep these sorts of things in plan, like available within the 401k, rather than just having people take their money out at retirement and buy them individually on the open market?
That's a really important question about the structure. Keeping these income solutions inside the 401k plan offers potentially significant advantages for the average participant. One big reason is economies of scale. Group purchasing power within a large 401k plan can often lead to lower costs and better pricing on these products than an individual could get on their own.
Okay, cost savings. What else?
Perhaps even more importantly, it's about fiduciary oversight. A key factor is the institutional fiduciary responsibility that's inherent in an employer-sponsored 401k plan under ERISA law. You have professional individuals, the plan fiduciaries, who have a legal duty to act prudently and in the best interest of the plan participants when selecting and monitoring these options.
So there's someone looking out for you, vetting the options.
Exactly. That layer of professional oversight and the potential cost efficiencies are often far better for average employees than having them try to navigate what can sometimes feel like the wild west of the individual retail market for retirement products outside the plan. It provides a measure of protection.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Protection and potentially lower cost. And finally, just to round that out, what's happening generally on the regulatory side to protect these plans and, us, the participants? It sounds like there's quite a bit of oversight already.
Oh, absolutely. 401k plans are heavily regulated. The main governing law is the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974, usually just called ERISA, and the U.S. Department of Labor plays a huge role in enforcement.
ERISA.
This extensive legal framework sets very stringent fiduciary duties on those who manage the plan, the employer, the investment committee, etc. They must act prudently. They must act in the best interests of the participants and beneficiaries. Their loyalty must be to you, not the company's bottom line in this context.
That's reassuring.
And there are strict reporting and disclosure requirements. We mentioned the fee disclosure. There's also the annual Form 5500, which is a detailed public filing about the plan's finances and operations. Failure to comply with ERISA's rules can result in significant penalties, fines, and even lawsuits for employers and fiduciaries. This robust oversight is really crucial for ensuring these plans are managed properly and for protecting our retirement savings.
Good to know there's a strong framework there. Okay, I think that wraps up our deeper dive into these aspects and gives us our final takeaway. Takeaway number 4. 401k offer features like loans and have required distributions in retirement. New solutions are emerging to help manage income in retirement, often benefiting from the institutional fiduciary oversight and lower costs found within employer-sponsored plans.
A perfect summary of those advanced points.
All right, let's do a quick recap then of all 4 takeaways from our deep dive into 401ks for you.
Sounds good. Takeaway number 1 was, a 401k provides powerful tax advantages and employer match opportunities, with specific contribution limits that offer flexibility for different ages.
Got it. Takeaway number 2. The 401k offers employees portability and investment choice, but it shifts responsibility from employers. Recent innovations like auto-enrollment and target date funds are helping to simplify the process and encourage greater savings.
Then we had takeaway number 3. Avoid common 401k mistakes by making consistent contributions, understanding your fees and investments, securing your employer match through vesting, and resisting early withdrawals or overconcentration in company stock.
And finally, takeaway number 4. 401ks offer features like loans and have required distributions in retirement. New solutions are emerging to help manage income in retirement, often benefiting from the institutional fiduciary oversight and lower costs found within employer-sponsored plans.
As we've really explored today, the 401k system, well, it continues to evolve. It's constantly adapting, trying to meet the needs of both employers and employees in a changing world. That fundamental shift towards individuals managing their own retirement savings, it's brought both, incredible opportunity, but also some pretty significant challenges, particularly around how we actually use that money confidently in retirement.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, our listener? With new contribution limits coming up, evolving regulations like Secure 2.0, and these innovative solutions starting to appear for managing your retirement income, the landscape is definitely dynamic. It's not static. The real power, we believe, lies in staying informed, asking questions, and actively engaging with your specific plan to ensure it's really serving your unique long-term goals. So the question we leave you with is, how will you take the next step in making your 401k work harder and smarter for you? That's all for now, folks. Please like, share, and subscribe for more like this.